Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Dark Reading News Desk. We are coming to you here from BlackHat USA 2026. My name is Becky Bracken. I'm a senior editor with Dark Reading, and I am very enthusiastic about our next guest, Rich Mogull from the Cloud Security Alliance. He and I just had a recent conversation on our Dark Reading Confidential podcast about the OpenAI Hugging Face debacle. And now he is back so we can continue that conversation and really talk about the developments that have happened since. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me today.
Thank you so much for being here. Okay, so when we last talked, we thought it was just OpenAI. We thought it was just Hugging Face. Things have sort of exploded since then. Yes.
Yeah, I don't even know if I can keep up with the developments. I was
Right.
getting news reports today, so of other new ones. So when we talked last, we knew about the OpenAI Hugging Face, and we had a lot of information from Hugging Face that had been released. OpenAI yesterday told their side of the story, but in that intermittent time period, Anthropic released that they had 3 situations that were pretty similar. And then we had the UK AI Cybersecurity Institute in their testing. All the models basically cheated.
Cheated.
And we're trying to get around and we're lying about it and erasing their own evidence. I think I read that Meta just had the similar issue, but I think that Meta just, I don't know, maybe they just want the attention.
You think
it's
that,
like,
yeah.
I'm over here, don't
we
forget
did
about
it too,
me.
yeah.
Yeah, I did it too.
Our models are scary.
So like, I don't think you're getting the point, people, but you know,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Okay, what do you make of all of this? You know, I really rely on people like you because I'm looking at it, but what am I looking at really at this point in time, you know, from a cyber defender perspective?
I mean, I think we see an industry that really wants themselves to be regulated and controlled because they are not doing fundamentals in terms of like safety around these incredibly powerful tools. Now, we've been really lucky so far. We haven't had, you know, certain kinds of destructive actions, and they're trying to cheat on tests. They're not trying to take down, you know, OT systems or anything along those lines. But they need better safety protocols is my takeaway in all of them. Apparently it's endemic, and that's hard because these are pretty powerful and unpredictable technologies, but still you've got to do your work. I mean, what we are seeing, I'm classifying these right now as industrial accidents.
I noticed that, and tell me about why that is, because that's a really interesting point, I think.
Well, it's the nature of that they're, you know, I mean, we have a lot of safety regulations because, you know, the laws are written in blood. And around a lot of our industries because of just, I mean, long histories and around the world of those kind of misdeeds, people not paying attention, not following safety protocols, not having safety protocols, and as a result, innocent bystanders get hurt, employees get hurt. We're really kind of seeing a similar situation here, and I don't think it's something we've had to deal with in technology in the same way before.
It is weird. It feels like an odd, but it makes all the sense in the world. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in other situations, like, all right, well, if, you know, Microsoft or Amazon goes down when they have outages or something, you know, that's an outage. It's, you know, kind of like a power outage or something else. An industrial accident is where you have a blast radius and where you are affecting others around you, and that's what we're seeing here. And I think that's different in a way that, you know, than what we've seen previously, especially at the scale.
And there has been a lot of criticism about OpenAI in particular and their lack of security controls. So let's talk about what good would look like in these instances with these models.
I mean, if you're going to go gloves off with the models, you need like real sandboxing, and you also need to have much more in-depth monitoring. And some of the things that they talked about, so I wasn't at OpenAI's session, but I had some people share with me what was seen there. I had meetings.
Right.
But there were, you know, they didn't see some things. And look, lessons learned. Like, I don't want to be too hypercritical. I know good people working over there who are like top-notch security people, and it's time to, let's take a step back. Let's put in safety protocols, different levels of monitoring, different levels of sandboxing now that we know what these are capable of. And there's different ways that this happens. So what happened with OpenAI and the parts of what happened there that I was read in on are, I mean, it's just fascinating with them. I mean, just from like a creative side, I mean, it was inventing its own languages, and they were doing dead drops and files, and the OpenAI shut that down, and then they're like using directory names to like communicate with each other. I mean, it is just wild what the agents were doing.
And how creative I think that is an important point to
Yeah.
make, that they're creative. They're not just following a binary path.
No, and it's not creative like a human, because I do
Right.
not want to anthropomorphize. I think way too many people do that.
And I take that to heart. You said that during the podcast, and I catch myself
Yeah.
based on that. So yeah, okay.
But what it will do is, it's the million monkeys at a typewriter. It will try everything it can, and then once it finds something that works, it's going to, kind of redirect to there. Now, that was a bit different than what we know. We don't know everything, but from what we know from Anthropic, where some of that testing was occurring in a third party, where they were supposedly responsible for making sure that that was sandboxed, and it wasn't. And again, we're waiting to hear the news, like the actual stories on that side of it. But we now know that there's a risk. We now know that these things can expand beyond what people think, and it's kind of like basically a stop free. I can't remember the term for it, but basically, we need somebody's got to hit the big red button in terms of this kind of testing and say, hey, I think we do have the tools to be able to test those safely.
You do.
I do. I mean, they're not magic. They're not
Yeah.
yet inventing new vulnerability classes. They're, as you said, they will hammer away find a solution. They're going to find a way. I was joking with somebody yesterday. I was like, I will find a way or I will make one. I mean, that's
Right.
kind of what they do, because for alignment purposes, they're going to try and do what the humans have directed them to do. And again, there's no consciousness or anything. It's just, it's a different kinds of algorithms and such.
So let's take a few minutes. I think this is an important conversation for us to have. What is this ongoing friction between weighted models, frontier? What is the model issue?
So we have foundation models, frontier models, open weight models. And
Okay.
so the foundation models is generally it's from the big providers, and it may not be the latest and greatest, but it's a solid, like big. A frontier model becomes a foundation model as it gets
And
old.
so who would count as a one of them?
Well, I mean, Claude and OpenAI have foundation models.
Okay, so those are foundation. Okay.
But we have other ones. So Amazon's got foundation models. Microsoft has foundation models. So those are
They're reliable, kind of tried and true.
Well, I mean, come on.
Ish.
They're still not deterministic. They're not, trust me, not all reliable. The frontier models, though, is that that's the ones pushing the edge. So some of the testing and what OpenAI talked about was, the model was given impossible problems, because that's a very legit way from a scientific standpoint to see what it can actually, how
And
far
what
can it go.
happens when the answer isn't readily available?
Yeah. It's the Kobayashi Maru for the Star Trek nerds in
There we go. Okay.
And then we have open weight models.
Okay.
So open weight models are, frontier models run in OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, their data centers.
Okay.
Open weight models can technically be run anywhere. So the model itself is released and you get to adjust some of the weighting on it. That's where that term open weight comes, and potentially to change the behavior of those. Now, some of those, like Kimi K3 is one of the newer ones, and Gemma, I can't remember the version number, but these are becoming very powerful models, and in some cases are so big, you can't effectively run it. You're not running that on your Mac Mini at home,
Yeah.
no matter how much RAM you have, but you can run it in Hugging Face or Amazon or wherever if you want to pay.
Right.
Of course, you're going to have to pay for that infrastructure. And then, of course, they have the versions of it where you treat it as if it's a foundation or frontier model as well. So here's the debate. There's very few open weight models coming out of the US or Europe. Most of these big, powerful open weight models are coming out of China.
Okay.
And there's an open weight model. If you can run it yourself, you can ablate it, is
What
kind of
does
the
that
term.
mean?
You can do retraining and fine tuning and stuff, and effectively disable the security guardrails that are built into the model itself, and
Gotcha.
you get none of the surrounding models. A lot of what the frontier models do, it's in the harness. It's not necessarily in the model. A lot of the safeties that they have in place.
So that's there. No matter what you're doing.
When you get your refusals on Fable because it's too close to cyber, it's too close to some of the biowarfare stuff, that my understanding is that a lot of that defense is just in the harness itself. Your interactions with the model, it's not like baked into the model itself. And the models, of course, do also have safety through different kinds of training as well, baked into the models. Now, there's a business side of this and an international economic side of this that goes well beyond those of us in cybersecurity,
Okay.
which is if those models become as capable of ours, but you can run them cheaper on lower level hardware, then it becomes a financial challenge to the frontier model providers. Yeah,
Gotcha.
so it's an arms race, it's an economics race, it's all wrapped up into one around those. Now, the next question is why did we, like at CSA, with our partners RSAC and SANS, why did we recommend including open weight models into your incident response
Yes,
process?
that was my next question.
So, I'm sorry, I didn't mean
No,
spoilers.
no, to keep it. No, let's go. Yeah, I love it.
So that is an issue because of what we just saw, which is the refusal to the safety guardrail. So the major model providers do have cyber programs, and they're called slightly different things. You can get, like I have additional verification on both Anthropic and on OpenAI. I use both of those. But I'm still not at the highest level, which would be like Mythos or GPT cyber level, where the models have reduced safeties to allow you to do things like reverse engineering malware.
Okay.
But the problem we can encounter, and the problem that, and I don't know what level Hugging Face had in terms of their access when they went to use that for incident response, is they got refusals on what they were trying to do. I have research friends who can do one thing one day and get a refusal the other day.
Really?
So if I have an open weight model as backup and that I train on it, I know that I am controlling the
Got it.
guardrails on that. I am controlling the refusals, and it will behave predictably, even if it's not up the latest greatest. So there's a lot of people are saying open weight models, and I go, look, I actually don't care if it's an open weight model.
Okay.
As somebody, I used to teach cloud incident response here at BlackHat. When I'm teaching incident responders, it's more about having consistent behavior, knowing what the limits and capabilities of that
Got
are.
it. So you can have a test
Right.
with the same controls.
So that matters to me more
Got
than
it.
if it's open weight or frontier and proprietary. It is, I need to know consistent behavior and that I can use that to get the job done I need it to use. And that's what matters. At least that's how I communicate that.
Rich Mogull, thank you so much again. Once again, you've made me smarter in a very short amount of time. So thank you so much for stopping by and sharing your deep expertise on this subject with
Oh, no,
us.
thanks. I love talking about this stuff. So thanks for having me again.
Thanks, Rich. Appreciate it. That has been Rich Mogull. I am Becky Bracken with Dark Reading. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.